We'll start at 7:35. Let's other joins. Huh? Good evening, guys.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Let's start. And so far 14, so others will join also, no problem. So what we were discussing in yesterday's class is that what are the roles in AI team. Actually, I have not deleted the old slides. I'll quickly take you through that what we have taken in yesterday's class. We'll finish that, the roles in AI teams, and then we'll take a random topic also, and we'll see. This was all before the one class before. What we have seen, like what are the DS and AI applications, how to choose an AI project, and before going to any project, what is important is to start with the brainstorming. What a brainstorming project will result, and for a brainstorming project, you need to have a domain expert also, correct? So it is a combination of domain expert, IoT, ML, and to start, you need to start with the small data. These all things we have covered earlier, and this is where we started in the last class. So working with AI team, then you need to have a project which should be defined well before, and the acceptance criteria should also be defined, and how to start kickstart also, that also we have discussed, to start with the pilot program and develop the ROI model, and then you can pitch it to the final implementation. And what are the pitfalls we have taken, like the limitations and insufficient data and all. And I told you the above two, like there is the how data scientist role should be defined in any team, and whom he should report. So for that, what are the and I told you, because this field is evolving so fast, so no job titles and the roles and the responsibilities 100% defined. Correct. So, and a different terminology may have a different the different job titles may have a different roles or responsibility in different companies. So that we have actually discussed, and these are the typical roles in an AI team or an AI company, which is actually very common these days. And I've shown you hierarchy of that. That at top, of course, there should be visionary and the founder. Then after that, the management comes. That may be the director, CTO, or the business development manager. And after that, you will have lead data scientist or product manager, project manager, domain experts, and below this, the other. There may be many support staff or the data scientist, data analyst, all of that. And what I told you, like, we will discuss the few of the roles, and that we discussed also. We discussed the software engineer. I told you the software engineer is mainly who is responsible for the end at the end level deployment. Correct. Who actually productionize the algorithm, who actually build the web application or the mobile application, whatever it is. Okay. So I told you, any AI company generally has more or less 50% or more than that the software engineer. Then we have discussed machine learning engineer and machine learning researcher, and the basic difference between the researcher and engineer is the researcher is a bit like advanced the profile, where he need to actually have some domain expertise also, and he actually decides the what models to be build, and and he dictates to the machine learning engineers, and the machine learning engineers and feeds data into that model and defined by the data scientist and all. And again, the researcher, the machine learning researcher, is responsible for the writing purpose also, like the publications writing, or the patent writing. Basically, he is responsible for the technical writing of the company, like that. Then we have gone in depth of that, and we have discussed like what is the basic difference in both of them, because these are the main two common profile which gets maximum number of jobs opportunity, and where people goes at a starting level. Okay, so these are the two generally for data scientist, and for data scientist or the research scientist, whatever you say. Generally companies prefers PhDs who has worked on that field for couple of years or something like this. I mean, like as a part of that PhD problem. And then if you are a BTech or master, generally they goes in a company as a machine learning engineer for to start. Okay, so we have defined, again we went into depth of that, like what is the role of a data scientist, who is responsible for what are the duties which he need to perform. And this we discussed. Then we discussed about the data analyst also, and I told you the main job for the data analyst is to collect and process and perform the statistical data analysis. And this we discussed. And I told you, for this actually the SQL is the one thing, the database modeling he should know, the database management tool, that is the SQL, that also he should know. Correct. And of course he should have expertise in the spreadsheet also, the Excel also, that also I told you. And the data architect I told you, because it is going, the data is now with how the AI is growing, you are getting more and more data, and you need to have a proper management of the data, which is actually responsibility of data architect. He actually ensures that data is being collected in a from all the different sources in a centralized database, and he also maintains the databases like that. Then you have a data engineer, which I told you that who closely works with the data architect. The data engineer's responsibility is that data should be available to each and every customer or each and every employee of the organization who is actually going to use the data in a required format. So that is the responsibility of data engineer. Then I told you again the statistician, then you have a database administrator, all this we discuss. The business analyst, I told you this is the job profile which is getting more attention now. These are generally domain experts, who have a bit of a modeling experience, or who understand the basic mathematics or the AI technology, but they are the domain experts, so that they can actually reach out to the market, and they can conduct surveys and analysis, and they can come up with the solution, like what can be developed which will have more which will have a more value. Okay, so this we discussed, and we discussed about the data analytics manager also. And then the product manager, I told you the product manager is someone who has the full responsibility for development of any product, who decides what to build, what new features to be added, or like that, correct? So that is the responsibility of product manager. And then you have a CTO, that also we have discussed. So this is the last slide which we discussed. And now let us quickly move to the next. So basically, more or less, we have discussed all the profiles. Okay, more or less we have discussed all the profiles which are essential. Which are essential for you to know, which is what is their role and responsibility. Now let us see, like, what are the necessary and preferred skills for data science skills which one should have. One profile should have. Like like if you say the analytics, for the analytics, this we are talking about the data scientist. What a data scientist should know. Okay, we are talking about the data scientist. Okay, so what he should know is like analytics. Of course, this is the necessary. Analytics he should know. Then coding is also necessary for data scientists. When you're applying for the data scientist, then you should be familiar with the coding languages like R or Python, or any one language. You should be familiar with that. And familiar mean you should have some level of expertise, maybe at least a level 2 you should have. If you rate from 1 to 5, not beginner, more than that. Okay, and then you should also understand the databases, because data will come from the database. You need to call the data, and then you need to write the programs accordingly. So that is one thing which is again necessary for a data scientist. For a data scientist to know is databases is also necessary. Then big data processing is actually, it is preferred, but it is not necessary, because you can also work with the small data, correct? So big data processing, it is not essential thing which you should know. Okay, and but if at all big data, what are the what you should know is like Hadoop or the Spark, and the Flink, like that. And about the algorithms and the models, it is also necessary, essential part. Okay, about the algorithms and models, this is also essential part. This is also necessary, that the regression model or whatever you are learning in the machine learning and advanced, you will learn in the next semester in the advanced machine learning. Those also, that is also a necessary part. Okay, then again there are some preferred skill which is not essential. That is frameworks and the libraries, different libraries like TensorFlow and CNTK or scikit-learn. You should be familiar, or you will learn over the period of time, but you should understand the basic algorithm which we told here, correct? The libraries can be while experience you can also learn. Okay, and you should have the domain knowledge. That is again, that is preferred, that is not like the essential part. Because assume a person from the computer science background, he comes and joins an AI company who actually deals with the manufacturing related solutions. So maybe they prefer to have a domain knowledge, but if he's not having, then also it is okay. Because I told you, any solution or any project which is being taken up in the AI field is after discussing with the domain knowledge. So you will have someone with the domain knowledge also, so there's no topic worry about that. And then other thing is like, there are other things like intellectual property, the communication skill or the presentation skill. Those are also preferred, and it is written preferred, but I'll say those are also the necessary condition these days. Okay, so these are the skills which a data scientist should have in a necessity or in a preferred skill. Now, let us see based on the different some of the AI roles and some of the AI role and some of the skills. Let us try to compare, and we'll see like if that is very important or that is what not important. Like this blue dot, the blue dark blue dot represent that very important, and this light blue that represents is like somewhat important. I mean, it is okay if that is, you know, if it is there then it is good, if it is not there then also is okay. But then again there is a green dot which is not that important. If it is not there, they don't worry about it, it is okay for them. Okay, if it is there then it is an additional thing. So let us see for the data analyst and the for machine learning engineer, for the data engineer and the data scientist. Okay, those all four we have defined clearly in the previous class also, and today also I have given you a glimpse of that. Okay, so for each, these are the skills, these are the skills or the tools which they should be familiar about. Let us see which is essential or not essential. So for a data analyst or a data scientist, like the programming tool, the programming is essential for all of them, even the data analyst, machine learning, data engineer or data science. Everyone should know the language, everyone should know the language. And now, you know, I believe Dr. Nageshwar has taught you very well, and you are actually proficient in Python, and with the next semester once you have your project you will be expert in the Python, correct? So the programming tool is very important, which is essential part. Then again, that you should understand the language, correct? Then there the data visualization, you know, and how to communicate with the data, you know, how you can load the data and all those sort of things, which is again it is essential for data analyst and the data scientist. Data engineer and the machine learning engineer, it is okay. The reason is because the work, the profile is slightly different. This is what we discussed, correct? And then we see the, we'll not go in all of them, we'll see few only. Like let us see the statistics. Statistics is again the data scientist should know, and the machine learning everyone should know. Okay, statistics everyone should know, and but it is okay, somewhat important for the data analyst and for data engineer, somewhat important. If they understand the statistics, they can present it in a better way, correct? And then the machine learning should be known to machine learning engineers, of course, and for the data scientist, of course. But the data analyst and data engineer, if they don't know, that is also okay, you know, because their main job, if they know a little bit of statistics, they know the data processing, they know the Excel, that is also okay for them. You know, in the Excel also they can do some sort of analysis. Then again, the software engineering. Software engineering is actually the machine learning engineer should know, and the data engineers should actually know. Huh? And then you know, the multivariate calculus and the linear algebra is actually data scientists should know here actually, and the machine learning engineers should also know this. So these are a few skill sets for different roles in an AI domain which is required. We'll see few more skill sets for few more roles, like few more roles like software engineer, like software engineer in the machine learning domain, of course, and the applied machine learning engineer, the core machine learning. So I told you the terminology is different in the different companies, and different authors also actually represents they use different terminology. And the data analyst, correct? So the fundamental of the computer science programming, it should actually, of course, software engineer should know, and the applied machine learning and core machine learning engineer should know. This is what we have seen in the previous slide also. The programming tools should be known to all of them, because here we have not taken the software engineer. The software engineer is must actually. Software engineer should know the machine learning, the fundamental of the computer science. Then probability and statistics. The data analyst should actually know very well, but the software engineer, he need not to know, because his job is only to deploy, to write the production level code, and the initial code will be written by the machine learning engineer in the company. And the machine learning engineer, how he works under the guidance of the data scientist or the machine learning researcher, correct? So he works under them. So the probability and statistics is the main domain of data analyst or the core machine learning engineer. Okay, again the data modeling and the evaluation, and it should be again, it is the core machine learning engineer and data analyst, he should know. And will not talk much about this. I think you understand this, correct? Let us move to next slide. The fundamental, I believe you should understand, correct? The fundamental, I believe you have understood, right? And what is the fundamental difference between each profiles, right? And I'll try to actually I'll skip this slide. Basically, this slide actually tells, like, it's addressed about the big data skills. The big data skills, when the companies they work with the big data, what skills they should have, and what is the role of in a data analyst role, or in a development, the person who deals with the development, their role, and the person who deals with the operations. Okay, that is represented with the black. So so let us see here. So a data scientist in the one block where the data scientist works, he works in the big data domain. He works along with the development in that team is actually taken care by the big data architect, and the operations is taken care by the VP data operations. Okay, and same again when we talk about the data analyst who works under them sometimes, there the development actually is being taken care by the Hadoop developer or the big data developer, and you have the data engineer who actually deals with the operations, and then you have a business analyst, and their development is taken care by the ETL developers. They should have ETL developers, and the operation is taken care by Hadoop and Spark admin. So what actually if you want to summarize this, I have two slides for this summary. Then you need to one is, of course, there is a domain knowledge. Three main pillars here. One thing is domain knowledge, second thing is computer science, and the third is the mathematics and the statistical aptitude, correct? So why the domain knowledge is needed? Domain knowledge actually helps for the when you want to discuss with the clients, he can understand the client requirement. Like I am having maybe the data science consultancy, and I wanted to approach someone from the some chemical industry. So I should have some person in my company who understands who is from the chemical background, so that he can actually understand the client requirement in a better way, correct? So again, he can highlight the important criteria. He can highlight even to the clients also. He can help to client also. Okay, these are the probable solution which our company can provide, or which you can develop, which will help you to increase your productivity or whatever it is. Okay, so and again, it is easier explanation to the technical concept, correct? And what about why the mathematical and statistical aptitude you should know is like again, the fellow will have the statistical knowledge. He should understand. He will understand the mathematics. He will be able to design different methods, and he'll be able to tune and fitting the different models. And again, and the computer science. Why computer science? That computer science background fellow will have the database language understanding. He can understand SQL, Hadoop, whatever. And again, like basically he is able to manage the whole database, the structure, the infrastructure of the data, and he can visualize the data or pre-process the data for the data scientists and all. So the combination of these, the combination of the domain knowledge and the computer science, the combination of domain knowledge and the computer science will actually the skill will be having to the data engineer. Okay, and the combination of domain knowledge and this mathematical and statistical aptitude is the research and analyst. Okay, the research scientist or machine learning engineer or data analyst, like that. And again, you have a machine learning here, which is nothing but the combination of the computer science and mathematical and statistical aptitude. And correct. So what is actually, if you see, when we want to summarize in what is the skill set requirement for each profile we have discussed, what is the skill set requirement for each profile we have discussed. And this last slide we have discussed like the three main pillars. I told you there are three main pillars, but here I wanted to tell you that no, there are actually what industries look. what industries look, they want to look up four-man pillar. The four-man pillar is one that they wanted to see someone with the domain knowledge. They wanted to see someone with the coding skills. The coding skill, it is not necessary that the computer science background will only have a coding skill. A mechanical background fellow who has worked on any language maybe for a couple of years or 1 year, he also can develop the coding skills. So you need someone from the coding skills, someone who is there at the domain knowledge, someone who understands the mathematics behind the algorithm, who understand all the machine learning algorithm. And at last, which is very important, which most of the companies requires but they don't get any good candidate with that expertise, is like the one who is having the overall optimization concept also. Because there are people who have the coding skills, but there are people who have coding skills, they know machine learning algorithms also. All those machine learning courses they have taken, they know machine learning algorithm, but they are not able to write any optimization problem. Correct. So for that, there should be someone who can understand the optimization concept also. So these are the people, maybe most of the industries are searching, that who is having the knowledge of all of this, and being alumni of LIFT, and taking participation in this course, maybe you can actually get mastering in, or you can master yourself in all the domain. Correct. In all the domain, like, because you are from the domain, you already have the domain knowledge. Most of you are from maybe mechanical, manufacturing, or the metallurgy background, and the coding skills you will learn, and the machine learning algorithm also you are learning, and this optimization concept also you are learning. I think the part of that is being covered by the Achilles also, or maybe the next semester Dr. Ravi Shankar will cover. So let me these are the summary of all these job profiles which we have discussed. Correct. Let me again take you to the slide where I have shown you all the any doubts so far? Any doubts so far? Yeah. So I'm again taking you to the all the different rows which I have shown you initially, which I could collect from the internet and from my little knowledge. And if anything in this you wanted to discuss, which we have not discussed, I'll take you through that. So software engineer we have discussed, machine learning engineer, machine learning researcher we have discussed, data scientist we have discussed, data scientist and research scientist, that also I have briefed you about that. There is a very little difference between all these, both the profiles. Generally research scientist, they sits on top of the data scientist in most of the organization. For these generally PhDs are at entry level. If you tell, generally PhDs are preferred for this research scientist or the lead data scientist position. And then you have a principal data scientist, again maybe they sits on top of the lead data scientist, or it is the role is more or less same. We have discussed about data engineer, we have discussed about the data analyst, and so maybe some companies have only dedicated fellow whose job is to visualize the data. So they may have a profile called data visualization engineer, or the application visualization engineer, whatever it is. And the database administrator we have discussed. We have discussed about the AI product manager. We have discussed Java developers. Java developer also many companies need, because there are some companies who do coding, the AI coding in the Python or R, but when they deploy on the cloud, the application, when they build the application in Java. Correct. So they need to have Java developers also, and the Java developer should have understanding of AI algorithm also, so that he can understand whatever code is written by the machine learning engineer or the machine learning researcher. Okay. So then there should be ETL developer. ETL developer again, because the companies like when you go in manufacturing company, there you want to deploy any AI application there, where you want to collect the real-time data, the data which they get, maybe when you talk about they have a SCADA system or ERP system. So there should be some ETL developer who can extract the information from that SCADA or from that ERP, who can transform the those data into the structured way which is needed for maybe your developers, your machine learning developers, and they can actually load in their SQL or their their SQL database. Okay, that is the job of an ETL developer. He develops a tool for this particular application. That is the role of an ETL developer. And then Hadoop Spark admin and Hadoop Spark developers is again, this is when you talk about the big data, then you need for these two. And every like again, you need to have some support staff also. Support staff, what they do actually on a regular basis, this support staff will maybe they will speak with the client. They will just tell. Hello. Yeah. Someone was telling anything. You want to ask anything? Okay. So support staff क्या काम करेगा? Support staff क्या काम करेगा? He will support the whole team. Support the team. He will be like at the at the end he should have the skills of a customer relationship. He should be able to speak to the customer. He should be able to fulfill the day-to-day requirements of AI engineer, which can be maybe the data related requirement or application performance related requirement. All this is job of a support staff. Then you need to have an implementation engineer. Implementation engineer job will be the AI engineer or the machine learning engineer job is to develop something. The software engineer will develop something. Now that particular application or that particular tool, AI tool which you have developed, that need to be implemented in a actual working environment. So that implementation job is done by the implementation engineer, who goes, who implement it, who gives training to the maybe the actual end users. Okay, that is the job of implementation engineer. Then you need to have the operation research scientist. Operation research scientists are generally they work on a logistic related AI problem. Okay, they work on an optimization related AI problem. Okay, some process optimization, so there is the job of like the Uber, you can say, or the Swiggy or the Ola. These fellows they actually try to manage the logistics also. Correct? They try to actually schedule the things appropriately. So there, the operation research scientists are there who works at the back end. Then head of R&D analytics, head, correct, he is the head of your R&D, whatever you are doing in analytics. And the associate data scientist, the CTO, CIO, CDO, we discussed, like CTO, chief technical officer, we have covered this, chief information officer, chief data officer, and chief artificial intelligence. So all these profiles we have covered. Any confusion here? We'll move to next topic now. Any confusion so far? Anything you want to ask here? Okay, I'll do my job. Yeah, please tell me.
No, sir.
Okay.
Nothing.
So I have written random topic. Why random topic? In one of the class, maybe last week or before that, someone asked me, about the data, about the data imputation technique. Like if your data is having the null values, okay, if your data is having null values, how to handle with that? Correct? Then I told you, okay, maybe it is not the part of this course, but I'll try to capture that topic a little bit, and I'll show you. So maybe we'll discuss that point today. That is the data imputation technique. What will you do with you have null data in your data set? Correct. So null data means you have a data points. Correct. You have a you have a data sets. This is the data. Maybe these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 different columns you have, and you have maybe 1 to n data points, and you have some regular data. In between you have some none value. None value matlab there is nothing. Okay, you have none value, there is nothing. Then again, like this is also there is nothing. So how to handle with that data? What will you do if you get this kind of data? Okay, so again, the best is to impute the data, to impute these data points, because if it is a null, if you want to again, if you want to join this data with, or you want to correlate this data with some other data set, then your algorithm will be confused because you don't have any data point here which he can actually map, correct? Because you need to have some mapping, A to B mapping and all, correct? So you don't get data here which can be mapped. So how to handle this? So there are different data imputation techniques, and where you want to impute the data, you want to fill that null value. And what will you do then? The best and very simple simple approach is do nothing, drop, don't do anything. First thing, you leave it there, or you drop the row itself, you drop this complete row. Okay, this particular row you drop all this, the reading, this reading, maybe this is the reading number 100, whatever it is, for all the variables this reading you will drop. So you have some drawback again for this also. If you drop it, and maybe there is some very important data or some important feature actually here which you wanted to capture, but because you have a null data here, you are actually you are dropping this also. So it will impact the final performance of your model. It will actually maybe you have a total 1 to 1000 data, and out of actually you have a, maybe there are you have a 10 column, different columns, and out of that, if you see in all this column, and once in a while you have null value. So maybe out of 1 to 1000 you have maybe 50 or around 100 rows it will be deleted because of this null value. So you will left only 900 data points. So your data points will be less. You will end up with the less data. Then less data, then it will impact the model performance, because the more the data is the more probability of having a good model. Okay. So first is the do nothing. Then second is imputation. You can impute using mean and median value. Okay, you can impute this data with the mean of this column or the median of this column. You can impute the data using most frequent value. What are the most frequent value coming in this? We'll take few of them in next slides also. We'll see what are the pro and cons of these techniques, and where each technique can be used. And we'll again take one example. Then this is again you can impute using most frequent value, or you can impute with maybe 0. Wherever you have null value, you just impute with 0, or you impute with some constant value, maybe 9. Okay, this constant value will be, again, you need to identify by yourself only, and by actually analyzing this data set, by analyzing the data set. Okay, and you need to again, and I think one of the concept which I think I could remember Dr. Sikdar has told in one of the class, until and unless it is actually mentioned to you explicitly, the data whatever is given to you, you need to consider that it is a sample data only. It is not a full data, it is not a population of data. So the sample data which you are getting here, and in that also you will actually, because of null value it is impacting, then you need to actually impute with some of the other means. Then another way is imputation using KNN, that the kth nearest neighbor. I think Dr. Akhilesh has covered this technique. And then you can impute using multivariate imputation by chained equations, that is MICE. This is the one algorithm that is this package you can search MICE with this also, and this the mathematics behind this MICE also you can understand there. So this is the way. There is one way. With this technique also you impute the data. Then you can also impute the data using a deep learning, and the deep learning is, again, there is one module available that is called the DataWig, which is actually used for data imputation based on deep learning. Then again you have a stochastic regression imputation, and here actually you impute again by regression, correct? By regression you impute. Then some extrapolation and the interpolation, and this is the way. Then another way is hot deck imputation. We'll see few of them, what does that mean and how you do the imputation with them. But having said that, we can impute the data, but okay, there should be something which is not here. Okay, I think I have kept later. Okay, no problem. I thought there is something. Will maybe it is in the summary slide. Now We'll take few data like what is the when you impute with the mean and median value, what is the pros. The pros is the easy and fastest way, and easily you can see each column's mean you can see, and wherever you have a non-value you can replace with the mean value or the median value. Okay, whatever it is, they work well with the small numerical data set. When you have a numerical data set or if it is small data set, then this particular actually approach works very well. And what is the cons here? It doesn't factor the correlation between features if there are any between features, and it also works on the column level because each column you need to see, because you like you have a 10, you have a data set where you have a 10 different variables, so you have a 10 different column. So for each column only, the imputation of non-value of each column can be imputed by virtue of this column's mean only or their median only. Okay, it doesn't have any relationship involved with the other parameter, like how these particular values are actually getting changed with the parameter C or something like this. This particular relationships you are actually not considering when you are imputing with the mean or median value. Okay, again it is very poor. It will give poor results on enclosed categorical data. If you have a categorical data, and there if you have categorical data, then of course you need not to use this sort of feature. Correct, you can use it generally when you have a continuous data set like that. And then again it is not very accurate, I told you. It doesn't account the uncertainty in the imputation. There may be uncertainty in the imputation, that also it doesn't account. So other technique which you can actually, if you don't want to use, what best way you have other is the most frequent data. You see what is the most frequent occurrence in the data set, and again the 0 and constant value you can, I told you, you can replace with the 0 or some of the constant value. So what are the pros here is it works well with categorical feature. When you have a categorical data there, it works very well. Correct. And the cons, it doesn't factor the correlation between the feature. This is what I told you. Same with the mean and median thing. And it doesn't factor the correlation between feature. And it can include, again, it can introduce the bias in the data, because whatever is occurring most that you are imputing again, then it will be automatically, that will be the data will be biased for that particular values which is actually occurring most. So that is again that is the cons here. Then you have another technique, that is the imputation using KNN. KNN means you are imputing data based on the non-missing values in the neighborhood. You are searching in the neighborhood what are the non-missing values, and based on that you are actually imputing. And what is pros there? What is the advantage? Advantage is like it can be much more accurate than the mean and median, and it is accurate then, and it also gives you the most frequent population method. It's a be accurate here. And what are the cons? It is actually computationally expensive. Computationally expensive because it needs because the algorithms of k nearest neighbor, it actually works by sorting the whole training data set in the memory. So the sorting actually consumes the computational power. Correct. It takes time. Correct. It slows down the process. So that is one thing. And again, it is quite sensitive to outliers in your data. If you have some outliers in data, this KNN is quite sensitive to that. Okay, so there it is not recommended. And where the regression imputation works, it is actually quite similar to regression imputation, like which actually tries to predict the missing values by regressing it from other related variables. Okay, you will regress it to the other related variable in the same database, and you will actually it will give you the value. With that prediction, you will impute this with the prediction of the regression value. And there's one more called hot deck imputation. Hot deck imputation is actually, it works by randomly choosing the missing value from a set of related and the similar variable. In that particular variable or the related variable, it will see, and randomly it will actually impute the value, some random value. Okay, sometimes this also works, right? So let us see if you have a, if you have a some small data set. If you have a small data set and assume it is a production data, it is coming from a manufacturing company, a manufacturing company who works maybe shift wise, or daily, who works in a 3 shift, who have a data of maybe assume a foundry who have a data of each heat. So every shift they have a number of heats. Okay, so all those heats data it has. So assume you have a data such that like this, you have a data where you have a different variable, different variables. You have a data, maybe you have a spectro data of each heat. Assume you have a spectro data of each sheet, and in that data you have some null values, है ना? So to start this, ये थोड़ा सा गलत हो गया स्पेलिंग, कोई बात नहीं. So you need to, what you need to do first, you need to assess how many null values are there in your data. Like total you have maybe assume there are, you are doing the microstructure data. You have microstructure data where you have like percentage nodularity is the one thing, and the nodule count. Okay, nodule count is another parameter. Then you have a maybe yield strength or tensile strength is again one parameter. You have this 5, and you have for this particular data for all those different heats which is happening. Maybe every shift it is happening. Every shift it is doing some 20 odd heat, or 20 is actually too much. Maybe it is doing some 10 odd heats, and every day it is doing some 28 or 30 odd heats. And you have a data of like this, some 3-month data is there, and where you have some missing values. Okay, you have some missing value here, you have some missing value here, you have some missing value here. So first, before analyzing this data, you need to assess how many null values are there in your data. Like in your data, like in this column, if assume I have maybe 50% null value. Okay, if I have 15% null value, if I impute this with some of the data, some other data point, will it be reasonable? Do you think it will be reasonable if I have a 50% null value in any column?
No, sir.
What? Yeah, so it will not be reasonable. So better is if first it will be again decided by the data scientist only. Like he need to assess like how many null value he can accept. And if it is some certain range, he can decide, like I have decided, like if it is more than 50%, then this particular full column I can actually delete. I don't want to consider this parameter itself, because if I impute with some of the value, it will actually not resulting anything else. So it's better to ignore this parameter here. This decision I can take. But if it is less than that, if it's 20% or 30% only, then maybe I can consider. Then what are the approach which I can use to impute this data? Maybe I can, I told you decide the acceptance level is around 50% or more. I have decided here. Then you can impute this maybe with the shift average or the shift mean, because every shift we are working, and assume more or less I think that every shift type produce more or less same components. So the metallurgy of this particular of the melt remains more or less same. This is the assumptions which needs to be considered after discussion with the domain. Correct. This, so that you should have the domain understanding also. This is what I told you. Correct. So these all the imputation, again, this will also be decided by most of the time by discussing with the domain. Okay, you need to have domain understanding there, and you can impute if some data points are missing. You can impute with the shift average or shift medium. Okay, in this shift maybe I was producing some component more or less yield distance I was getting some megapascal, whatever it is, 300, 400. This is what I am considering here. Then you can either you if it is not a shift wise, maybe in the shift maybe you don't have. You can also assume day wise. You can impute with the day's average also, or you can impute with the median of this particular day, one day. Okay, this is one method. You can impute with the moving average also. You can impute with the moving average, because maybe the data, you can plot the data and you can see how this data is actually working. Maybe this particular day or data was going like this. Okay, there is some trend in the data which you have identified. So it's better that I impute this with the moving average. Moving average, you know the moving average, correct? It may be the average of last 2 data, or last 3 data, or last 4 data, or last 5 data. Okay, This average you can take and you can impute your data point. Here maybe this point you want to impute it, so you take average of 2 or 3. So this again you need to analyze it. There is no fixed way. You need to average what is the best moving average you can take. You want to take 2, 3, 4. It's again comes based on the analysis. Again, you need to impute with. You can also impute with previous data. Again, there are some mistakes in spelling mistakes. Just ignore this. You can impute with the previous data. You can analyze the data set and you can see what is the trend it is having. If you want to impute with the previous one data or previous 2 data, how it is, that also you can see. By if the data is a time series, maybe this particular parameter has the time series data, then you can analyze, okay, maybe after every shift, maybe after every 2 shift I get the more or less same result. So you can impute instead of previous data, you can impute based from the previous 2 data. Okay, this you can do. And again, you can impute after considering the correlation with other parameters. This what I told you in the, like, if those I have a 4 different parameter here, and I have a yield strength and I have an ultimate tensile strength, and I feel that I know that these both are actually more or less correlated, and when this ultimate strength increases, this also increase with some fraction. So I can consider the correlation of these 2 parameters. Okay, how much changes if this particular parameter is having with respect to that, how much change this particular parameter has is reporting. So considering that also you can impute the data set. And so these are the few techniques I told you. Then of course there are many imputation methods you can use it, which I have shown you in previous slide. So just to summarize the data imputation technique, there is no perfect way to compensate for the missing values in the data set. There is no perfect way. Okay, each strategist can perform better for some certain data set and missing data types, but maybe it will perform worse for another type of data set. Maybe here, which I have told, like the moving average or the correlation based imputation, this performs very well in this particular data set. But when I go and if I see some categorical data or some data where I take the images and all, then this particular parameter will not work. Okay, so like that. So there is no perfect strategy, by the way. And there are some set rules to decide which studies to use for a particular type of missing values. But beyond that, you should experiment and check which model works best for your data set. Okay, you need to do experiment. You need to understand your data set very well. You need to understand the domain of your data set, and then only you can decide like what is the best way for you to impute the data. So I hope you have some clarity on imputation, because someone asked, so I have covered this. Anything you want to ask here?
So the sample size, it is very small, then none of the technique will be huh?
Yeah, if it is again, if data set is very small, then you need to see if whatever algorithms you are trying to try it, will it work on that or not. You need to have some sufficient amount of data. This is what we discussed. And again, I told you, no machine learning engineer or data scientist will be able to tell you what is the sufficient amount of data. There's no sufficient. They also don't know until and unless they try it out. Okay, so I told you, until and unless I see the data set, I cannot tell which technique will work or which technique will not work. Okay, that needs to be decided by analyzing that data.
Okay, sir.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, sir.
So I hope all of you are listening here, huh? And
Yes, sir.
So there are few things. Maybe one more class I will take, or 2 more class, and we'll finish it off. I'll try to cover what are the pending is like what is the bias in the data set and how to handle the bias. Okay, because the bias is the one thing which actually affects the data. and the algorithm. And again, I wanted to cover the smart devices and the product, and a few of them we have already discussed also, like the which we discussed is the this speech recognition system and all, correct? So we'll see what else I can show it to you, and smart logistics also, how it works, and the smart city. So I think one or maximum two sessions I will be taking, and we'll be finishing this course.
Okay, sir. Sir, one more thing.
Yes, please ask.
सर मूडल पे एग्जाम देने में काफी मतलब क्विज देने में काफी प्रॉब्लम होता है, मतलब कभी कोई सबमिट नहीं होता है, कभी कुछ और ग्लिच आता है।
हाँ,
तो सर पहले जो जैसे हम लोग का क्विज होता था वो ज्यादा बढ़िया था, मतलब एक क्विलो करके हमें लिंक आता था, उस पे हम लोग साइन इन करते थे, फिर उसको अपलोड भी कर लेते थे और वो हो भी जाता था। लेकिन यहाँ पे मूडल पे काफी हम लोग को प्रॉब्लम आता है, क्योंकि लिखो कॉपी पे, फिर फोटो लो के पीडीएफ में कन्वर्ट करो, फिर अपलोड करो।
अभी अगर मान लिए तो मूडल है, अज्यूम इफ कुछ विदाउट मूडल ऑल्सो अगर आप कर रहे हो, जो पहले में भी गूगल फॉर्म बेस्ड जो कर रहे थे, या उसमें भी तो आपको अपलोड करना पड़ता है ना, उसके अंदर भी तो आपको अपलोड करना पड़ेगा, तो उसके लिए भी तो आपको स्कैन तो करना ही पड़ेगा।
तो उसमें सर फोटो अपलोड हो जाता था ना, यहाँ पे कल फोटो अपलोड कर रहे थे तो अनेबल टू अपलोड लिख रहा था।
नहीं, कल आपका टेस्ट हुआ था क्या वापस?
नहीं, मतलब
जब लास्ट मेरे को एक प्रॉब्लम जो लगा था वो ऐसा हो गया, शायद इन लोगों ने जो लाइक अभिजीत हैज एक्चुअली मेड सम लिमिटेशन ऑफ वन अपलोड ओनली, तो उसकी वजह से शायद प्रॉब्लम हो गया कि एक बार में सिर्फ एक ही अपलोड कर पा रहे थे, है ना? बट वी विल अलाउ दिस टाइम नंबर ऑफ अपलोड्स आल्सो। हाँ, बाकी मूडल स्लो चल रहा है क्या? इज इट ओनली द अपलोड? वो तो कुछ एक्चुअली दोज आर टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट्स है ना, वो तो मतलब हमारा गलती है, बट प्लेटफॉर्म का क्या इश्यू हो रहा है वो मेरे को थोड़ा समझाएंगे, देन आई कैन हैंडल इट इन बेटर वे।
सर प्लेटफॉर्म सही काम कर रहा है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं, बस अब जब भी हम लोग कुछ भी अपलोड करने जाते हैं ना, तब भी कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम आता है, कभी अब अपलोड ही नहीं होता है, कभी कुछ और प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है।
और मेरे टाइम में सर क्वेश्चन ही फॉरवर्ड नहीं हो रहा था, पिछले एग्जाम में सर, उसमें 6 क्वेश्चन थे तो
लोड नहीं हो रहा था। क्या नहीं हो रहा था?
नेक्स्ट फॉरवर्ड।
अच्छा, नेक्स्ट में नहीं जा रहे थे, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन में नहीं जा रहे।
यस सर।
अच्छा, पहले जब स्टार्ट में हमने मूडल जब डिप्लॉय किया था, तब सबसे पहले एक बार प्रॉब्लम आया था। उस समय क्या हुआ था, क्योंकि हमारा सर्वर जो है वो मतलब हम माइग्रेट नहीं किए थे अच्छे सर्वर पे, तो हमने फिर उसको अच्छे सर्वर पे माइग्रेट किया। तो लास्ट टाइम जब किया तब सर्वर एक्चुअली इट वाज रीजनेबली ओके, बट उसमें क्या हो गया, उसके अंदर वो कुछ लिमिटेशंस एग्जाम कॉन्फ़िगर करते हुए डाल दी गई थी, जिसके कारण आप लोगों को प्रॉब्लम आई थी। तो वो सब लिमिटेशंस तो अभी नहीं होनी चाहिए, बट हम क्या करेंगे, अभी जब नेक्स्ट टाइम जब आपका मिड सेम जब एंड सेम होगा, उससे पहले हम उसको टेस्ट कर लेंगे प्रॉपर्ली, अगर वो वर्क कर रहा है क्या। और आप लोगों को भी विल हैव अ मॉक टेस्ट विद ऑल ऑफ यू, है ना, विदाउट एनी मार्क्स, एंड विल टेक योर ओपिनियन। इफ यू ऑल एग्री विद दैट, देन we'll go with the Moodle. If there is still any issue, then we'll go with the Google form based examination. There is no problem. बट हम क्या करेंगे,
एक मॉक टेस्ट अगर हो जाता पहले ना तो अच्छा रहता सर, क्योंकि हम लोग को पता चल जाता है कैसे करना है, उसके बाद फिर सही रहेगा।
हम कर लेंगे एंड सेम से पहले मॉक टेस्ट करेंगे। एंड सेम से पहले हम एग्जाम को भी लाइक ईच फैकल्टी विल सी एग्जाम पेपर कि उसमें कुछ इश्यू तो नहीं है पेपर में, एंड देन ओनली विल फ्लोट इट टू यू। और दूसरा चीज, एंड सेम में क्या करेंगे, विल आस्क यू टू विल ट्राई टू एक्सप्लोर सम वे वेयर यू कैन कीप योर वेबकैम ऑन, है ना, सो दैट वी कैन हैव सम रिमोट इन्विजिलेशन आल्सो, है ना। तो ये चीज करेंगे एंड सेम में थोड़ा सा, है ना। We'll try to ensure that it works fine, huh?
Okay.
So anything else you want to ask?
Sir, और क्लासेस के लेक्चर्स का वीडियो मिल पाया सर अभी तक?
क्या बोल रहे हैं, आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा है, वापस बोलिए।
सर पिछले लेक्चर्स का वीडियोस नहीं मिला है सर अभी तक।
किसका?
डेटा एनालिटिक्स का सर।
वो अभी आज तो सारे वीडियोस अपलोड हुए हैं, आप देखिए, शायद आज तो बहुत सारे वीडियोस अपलोड करवाए हैं ना, सो हो गया होगा मेरे को लगता है। YouTube पे एक बार चेक कीजिए आप, आज मेरे ख्याल से अपलोड हुआ होगा, नहीं हुआ होगा तो आई मेक श्योर कि कल तक अपलोड हो जाए आपके लिए, ठीक है?
ओके सर।
चलिए फिर गुड नाइट, है ना?
गुड नाइट सर।
गुड नाइट।
गुड नाइट सर।